How soul-crushing must it be to possess elite basketball skills, yearn for championship glory, yet find yourself stuck on a roster that seems perfectly content with perpetual middle-of-the-pack existence? Nikola Vucevic's situation with the Chicago Bulls reads like a tragic sports novel. A talented veteran watching his career's golden years tick away, while management treats him like furniture that's too expensive to move but too valuable to throw away. The melancholy surrounding Vucevic's Bulls tenure has reached a crescendo as insider Casey Johnson delivered what might be the most devastating prediction for any competitor. He's probably not going anywhere this season, despite years of trade rumors and his obvious desire for a fresh start on a contending team. Sometimes the cruelest fate in professional sports isn't being bad, it's being just good enough to avoid necessary change. Johnson's assessment of Vucevic cuts straight to the heart of modern NBA roster construction problems. You never have to worry about him. He is the ultimate professional, and really, to me, can fit in any style of play because he's just so skilled and so smart, Johnson explained on Stacey King's podcast. While these sound like glowing endorsements, they actually explain why Vucevic finds himself in basketball purgatory. The cruel irony is that Vucevic's professionalism and reliability have become his prison bars. Organizations love players they can count on, but that dependability often translates into complacency rather than urgency for improvement. Why fix what isn't broken? Even if what you have isn't quite good enough to achieve championship aspirations, his versatility and basketball IQ make him the perfect role player for any system. But therein lies the problem. Contending teams view him as a luxury addition rather than a necessity. When you're shopping for championship pieces, teams prioritize players who fill specific, crucial needs over those who simply make everyone around them marginally better. The professional maturity that makes Vucevic so valuable also works against him in trade negotiations. Teams know he won't create locker room drama, demand special treatment, or disrupt chemistry even when frustrated with his situation. This reliability reduces urgency for front offices to address his desires, knowing he'll continue performing regardless of circumstances. Johnson's most damning observation focuses on the practical realities of Vucevic's contract situation. He's an expiring contract now, and what team is going to give up a lot when they can probably sign him for pretty cheap on the open market next season? This financial reality creates a vicious cycle that traps both player and organization in unsatisfactory circumstances. Expiring contracts should theoretically increase trade value by providing acquiring teams with immediate salary relief and decision-making flexibility. However, Vucevic's situation represents the opposite scenario. His impending free agency makes teams reluctant to surrender valuable assets when they could potentially sign him without giving up anything. This creates a lose-lose dynamic where the Bulls can't get fair value in trades while Vucevic can't escape to a contending situation. Chicago finds itself holding an asset that's simultaneously valuable and untradeable, like owning a sports car in a city with no roads suitable for driving it. The market dynamics work against both parties because contending teams typically pursue expiring contracts for salary cap relief, not for the player's long-term contributions. Teams view Vucevic as a potential bargain free agent signing rather than a trade target worth surrendering current assets to acquire. What makes Vucevic's situation particularly heartbreaking is the recognition that his championship window is rapidly narrowing while he remains anchored to a franchise with no clear path to contention. At 32 years old, he's entering the final prime years of his career, yet finds himself on a roster that seems designed for mediocrity rather than championship pursuit. The Bulls' current construction reveals organizational confusion about their competitive timeline. Players like Josh Giddey, Kobe White, and Kevin Huerter suggest a team building for the future, while Vucevic represents a win-now veteran whose skills are being wasted on developing talent rather than utilized for championship competition. Johnson's prediction that Vucevic will eventually sign in unrestricted free agency to a smaller contract for a championship contending team in 2026 to 27 provides hope for the player, but underscores the tragic waste of his current situation. 2 more years of career prime sacrificed to organizational indecision represents an irreplaceable loss for any professional athlete. The defensive concerns surrounding Chicago's roster construction make Vucevic's offensive excellence feel almost irrelevant. When your team can't stop opponents from scoring consistently, individual offensive production becomes meaningless statistical padding rather than contribution to winning basketball. Vucevic's experience exemplifies the unique frustration facing skilled veterans on non-contending teams. Unlike young players who can view mediocre situations as development opportunities, established veterans understand that each wasted season represents irreplaceable time that could have been spent pursuing championships. The psychological toll of this situation cannot be understated. Vucevic possesses the skills to contribute meaningfully to championship teams, yet finds himself in an environment where those skills are underutilized and underappreciated. It's like being a virtuoso violinist forced to play background music at shopping malls instead of performing at concert halls. His ultimate professional reputation, while admirable, also enables organizational complacency. Management knows Vucevic will continue giving maximum effort regardless of circumstances, removing pressure to create competitive situations worthy of his talents. Professional excellence becomes its own punishment when organizations exploit loyalty and work ethic. The lack of urgency from Chicago's front office suggests they view Vucevic as a stabilizing presence rather than a championship asset. This perspective treats him more like organizational furniture than a competitor whose career aspirations deserve consideration and respect. The harsh economics of NBA roster construction work against players like Vucevic, who occupy the middle ground between superstar and role player. Contending teams typically allocate major resources to either transformative stars or affordable complementary pieces, leaving skilled veterans in an awkward valuation gap. Vucevic's salary demands and skill level place him in a category that contending teams often can't afford or choose not to prioritize. He's too expensive for most teams' role player budgets, but not impactful enough to justify major asset expenditure for championship-chasing organizations. The timing of his career peak coinciding with Chicago's competitive valley creates additional market complications. Teams interested in his services are often in different competitive phases, making mutually beneficial trades nearly impossible to construct within salary cap constraints. Johnson's observation about future free agency signing for pretty cheap highlights another cruel aspect of veteran career arcs. Players often must sacrifice financial security to pursue championship opportunities, forcing impossible choices between money and competitive fulfillment. Chicago's handling of Vucevic's situation raises broader questions about organizational responsibility to veteran players who've provided years of professional service. While teams owe no obligation to facilitate trades for unhappy players, there's an ethical component to recognizing when mutually beneficial separations might serve everyone's interests. The Bulls have benefited enormously from Vucevic's consistency and professionalism during their competitive struggles. His veteran leadership and on-court production have provided stability during organizational uncertainty, yet the franchise appears unwilling to help him pursue championship opportunities that his career achievements have earned. This dynamic creates precedent concerns for other veteran players considering Chicago as a destination. When organizations treat skilled veterans as assets to be maximized rather than competitors with legitimate career aspirations, it affects their ability to attract similar players in future free agency periods. The short-term thinking evident in Chicago's approach, keeping Vucevic for this season despite his desires, may damage their long-term reputation among veteran players who value competitive opportunities alongside financial compensation. Johnson's prediction that Vucevic will eventually find his championship opportunity through free agency provides some optimism for the player's future while highlighting the inefficiency of his current situation. Delaying this inevitable outcome by 2 years serves no productive purpose for anyone involved. The Bulls won't improve significantly enough during this period to justify keeping Vucevic for competitive reasons. Meanwhile, Vucevic loses 2 years of championship pursuit during the final prime phase of his career. The delay benefits no one while harming both parties' long-term interests. Contending teams that might benefit from Vucevic services this season must wait until 2026 to acquire him through free agency, potentially missing opportunities where his skills could have made immediate championship differences. The entire situation represents market inefficiency that hurts competitive balance across the league. The psychological impact on Vucevic of enduring 2 more seasons in competitive purgatory could affect his eventual contributions to championship teams. Frustration and wasted prime years often diminish player effectiveness even after escaping unsatisfactory situations. Vucevic's trapped situation reflects broader issues with player agency and career control in professional sports. Despite providing years of excellent service and professional behavior, he finds himself unable to pursue legitimate competitive aspirations due to organizational stubbornness and market dynamics beyond his control. This reality highlights the limitations of player empowerment movements that focus primarily on superstar situations while ignoring the challenges facing skilled veterans who lack sufficient leverage to force organizational changes. Vucevic's professionalism works against him in ways that more dramatic player behaviors might not. The situation also demonstrates how organizational mediocrity can become self-perpetuating when front offices prioritize asset retention over competitive improvement. By refusing to help quality veterans pursue championship opportunities, teams often ensure their own continued irrelevance while wasting player career opportunities. The human cost of these decisions extends beyond statistics and contracts to the personal fulfillment and career satisfaction of professional athletes who've dedicated their lives to excellence in their chosen field. Sometimes the most tragic sports stories aren't about failures, but about talents that never received appropriate opportunities to flourish. This entire saga will serve as a case study in how organizational indecision and market inefficiencies can trap quality players in situations that serve no one's long-term interests. Vucevic deserves better, the Bulls deserve clarity about their competitive direction, and basketball fans deserve to see skilled players competing where their talents can make meaningful differences. What's your take on Vucevic's situation? Should the Bulls prioritize his happiness and help facilitate a trade? Or is keeping a reliable veteran the right move for their development timeline? Let us know in the comments, and give this video a thumbs up if you feel for players stuck in basketball limbo through no fault of their own.